words per minute. Get ready. Start. Gentlemen of the jury, I will say to you on the subject of the evidence before going into the law in the case that it is for you to believe or disbelieve the various witnesses. As to the facts, you must look at the witnesses, you must look at their opportunities for judging, you must look at the way in which they told their story, and you must consider whether they were really recollecting what occurred at the time or not, and you must likewise consider their interest. The plaintiff has a very material interest in this case. If he gets a verdict, it means so much money in his pocket, and interest very often colors our views when we come to give testimony. On the other side, you will likewise consider the interest of the driver of the cab, as he has been blamed for doing something, and it is for you to say whether it would be to his interest to shift the blame. As to numbers, as I have said to you in other cases, where you have a large number of witnesses against a smaller number of witnesses, you have the power, if you see fit, to believe the smaller number and dismiss the testimony of the larger number. But before doing that, you should give the matter careful consideration, and not to do so until you have found a satisfactory reason for dismissing the testimony of the larger number and accepting that of the smaller number. In other words, you must make up your mind in the case and see on which side the scales fall, not necessarily saying the truth lies on the side of the larger number. As I said, if you feel that the story of the smaller number is the true one, you have the power to dismiss that of the larger number. However, I leave that entirely to you. As to the medical testimony, it is of a different quality entirely. It is what is known as opinion testimony. Very often, medical testimony is of great aid in a case. Very often, it is of no assistance whatever. Where you have two sides in a case, you have doctors on both sides. If you have 7 sides to a case, you would probably find doctors on all sides, and you would probably have different views from the doctors on each side. However, doctors are supposed to be men who are better able to judge of such matters than we are. You will have to give their testimony full consideration and make up your mind whether it will be of any assistance to you. If it will be of any assistance, you are to take the opinion of the doctors. You are not bound by the opinion of any doctor in the case. You are to consider their opinions for what you think they are worth, and say which one is worth the most to you and which one the least, and say how they impressed you on the stand, and make up your mind as to the weight you will give their testimony. As I have already mentioned, you have had a couple of doctors on one side and 3 doctors on the other. In some particulars they agreed, and in other they disagreed. You will consider their testimony and make up your mind as to where the truth lies as to the extent of the plaintiff's injuries. In considering the question of his injuries, you have a right to bring your knowledge of human nature into play, your common sense. You are not necessary to be dazzled by large figures.